Hello, and thank you for listening to another episode of The Hangry Mexican. You may have heard of this. You may have even seen some videos on YouTube. Maybe you saw it on TV as recently as the Super Bowl. There was a commercial on this during the event, ASMR. So what is it? I'm really pleased to have these two ladies on my show today. Lauren, aka Scottish Murmurs, and Lucy, aka Creative Calm. These are two of the biggest YouTube stars in the ASMR community. Between the two of them, they have nearly 500,000 subscribers. They're fantastic ladies. They're very, very smart, and they are very funny. So I'm really excited about today's episode. And hopefully by the end of the interview, we can help dispel some of the misconceptions there are about ASMR. So without further ado, let's get this show started. So DJ, roll that music. Ladies, thank you so much for taking some time out and joining me here on this podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Oh, of course. Now, the one thing that I always hear, now everybody I think that I've talked to, whether it's at work or at home, family members, friends, they've all heard and seen ASMR on YouTube and elsewhere, but they don't really understand it. Some of them are a little, kind of skittish about it. Just because they don't really understand it. So before we get into a bit more personal, maybe talking about what you do on the side, what are your favorite, things to do, we can just start off with ASMR. And maybe one of you can tell me what ASMR is and what it stands for.
Well, Lauren, I'll let you take that if you would like.
So ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, and it describes that feeling that you get, some people get, that can be described as a sort of tingly sensation from the top of their scalp all the way down their spine. And this can be triggered by lots of different things. It can be triggered by sounds, but also some people find one of the most common triggers actually is like back touching. If somebody was to gently stroke your back or, for example, play with your hair. And so we find that this sort of feeling makes you feel really relaxed and really good. And so we've got this huge community now on YouTube where we create videos to help people feel good, feel relaxed, and help them sleep. Would you add anything else, Lucy?
No, I think that was a stunning explanation.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, you two are the dynamic duo, the the best ASMR artists out there, especially from Europe. On that end, I know that we have some American ASMR artists, but I think you two are at the top of definitely what you do. But I'm sure that you've probably been asked these similar questions about ASMR. Lauren, I saw on your Instagram that you were on a show recently explaining why ASMR is not sexual, because a lot of people think it is. Do you want to just explain to me a little bit about what that show was, how you got invited to that, and maybe just a little summary of the explanation you gave in that show for those folks that haven't seen that clip yet?
Yeah, so I was approached by BBC Scotland. So it's BBC, but it's Scottish specific show, and it's a new show. And they wanted to do a piece on ASMR and what it is, because in the UK we find that it's still quite unknown. So, for example, like in the States, ASMR is the most searched term it has been this year on YouTube, whereas in the UK it's not so much. So they were really interested to kind of find out what it was and kind of portray that to the wider Scottish audience. So I did like a documentary with them. Well, I say documentary, a kind of short clip. They kind of came to my house and we did bits like different ASMR triggers, etc. And then I was invited to then come on to the show. They would show this sort of small kind of clip and then we would discuss it. So I had no idea what they were going to ask, but we face it quite a lot. The question is always about, is ASMR sexual? So for me, ASMR is not sexual. And this is where people get slightly confused, because people confuse sensuality and sexuality. And it's really important to note that these are totally separate feelings, totally different, separate things. And so, for example, a massage is sensual, whereas, you know, we wouldn't say a massage would be sexual. And this is where ASMR comes into play. So whispering and soft-spoken, that's sensual. It's not sexual. And research has been done and has shown that there's no arousal that is caused by ASMR. So it's just kind of getting the wider audience to understand that, yes, it may seem a little bit odd at first, ASMR, but actually it's something that might be able to help you relax and help you sleep and isn't intended at all to be sexual. And Lucy, you've experienced sort of similar to me, haven't you, in terms of that people assume that it's sexual when it's not?
Definitely. I think the thing is, if you've never experienced ASMR, or perhaps you're just stumbling across it for the first time and you go onto YouTube and there is a person whispering closely into a microphone, immediately you think, oh, that's a bit strange. And sometimes in society, when there are things we don't understand, immediately we think, oh, that's some kind of fetish, something to do with sex. But it's completely not. And as Lauren said, there have been actual studies now and research to back up the fact that the response that you get from listening to ASMR can not actually be a sexual response. Your heart rate actually slows down. So it's quite interesting when you get these people who say, oh, it is completely sexual. I would just, I just encourage them to actually do a bit of their own research and test out different videos and see, what they find relaxing. Maybe one thing they stumbled across, wasn't for them and, didn't relax them, but another video would. So I think there's so much variety out there now. And as long as, as a community as well, we're trying to put forward the right message about ASMR and that it is just for sleep and for relaxing. And even, Lauren and I were speaking about it as more of a form of quiet entertainment. So I think if it's put forward in that sense, then it's definitely not sexual.
And, a lot of people may say that, ASMR is not for them because they don't feel anything. But do you believe that everybody has a trigger out there? They just have to find it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely it's worth exploring. If you don't think you're someone who experiences ASMR, I would definitely say that just try to watch as many things as you can. For me, I remember experiencing it when I would get my hair cut or when I would go to the doctor or something like that. And actually I didn't know that it was called ASMR. It was only until I stumbled across the videos a few years ago that actually I realized it had a name. So there may be people out there who have actually experienced that feeling and they don't actually think it's called ASMR.
Excellent. Yeah. And it's kind of funny because the way that I stumbled into ASMR, out of all things, was I was learning how to shave using a safety razor, which and so I was like, oh, YouTube, they have all these how-to videos. Let me just search how to shave with a safety razor, and yeah, sure enough, a lot of good videos came up, a lot of how-to guides. But then all of a sudden, there was this one YouTube video that I thought was going to be a how-to, and in reality it was this person that was just kind of whispering very softly, talking very softly, and going through the motions that a barber would do. And I started getting a tingling sensation. I said, what in the world is this? I did not realize that first of all, that the community, ASMR community, has just exploded but at the same time that there's all these different types of I guess ASMR performances that could go from somebody just pointing the camera at themselves and eating something to all of a sudden having all these elaborate pieces. I mean, Lauren, I just saw your most recent video on I believe it was like almost like a sci-fi.
Yeah. That took a long time to edit.
Yeah. Well, are you a big sci-fi fan?
I would say so. So I've played all the Mass Effect games, so that's probably where I got a bit of my inspiration from. And I've seen it slightly done before, but I liked the idea of things being futuristic, you could kind of personalize your own ASMR experience. And that's what I wanted to bring across. So that's why I made it the way it was. But it took so long to edit all the sounds, the background noises and stuff. So.
Oh, I bet. Now, this question is obviously for the both of you, because I want to learn a little bit about your process. Obviously, it takes time to shoot. It takes time to edit. I work in the news industry, and so a lot of the news markets out here, they involve hiring MMJs, or what they call a one-man band, a person that does it all. They report, they edit, they write, they do everything all by themselves. Is that something that you two do?
That's us. Yeah,
that's us. Yeah, I mean, I think doing ASMR, just doing YouTube in general, is a huge kind of learning curve, because I don't know about Lauren, but for me, I'd never even shot a video before. Yeah, so I mean, now I know we both use the same editing stuff, and yeah, I mean, it's just been a huge learning curve. We film and we edit, and everything from just learning about lighting and cameras, all of that has been interesting. But now we can do it all, really. So it's always good fun.
And where did you learn to do everything that you do, as far as editing goes and shooting and lighting and all that stuff?
I mean, as we went along, I think. I don't know what about you, Lauren?
Yeah, exactly the same. So I was quite fortunate. I had a MacBook for university. And when I started this, it was just towards the end of my degree. And it's got iMovie on it, doesn't it? So iMovie is excellent.
Yes, it is.
We still use it, because I went to try and do the kind of Adobe Premiere Pro, more kind of complex systems, but nothing compares to the ease of iMovie. So I just find it, just kind of learn yourself really on iMovie. And then you pick up tips as you go along with binaural mics and how to set up binaural mics and what mics people are using. It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
So you constantly pick up those tips as you go along.
Yeah, definitely. And the community is so nice as well. You can ask, and, Twitter's really great for that as well, just connecting with people. And if you've ever got a technical problem as well, people are always willing to help. So I think that's something I don't know if it's like that in other areas of the YouTube community, but especially within ASMR, that's really nice to have.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a traditional job on the side, or is ASMR and doing these videos on YouTube your full-time jobs now?
For me, I do marketing freelance, but YouTube has slowly crept over as my main role, I have to admit. But now I was doing things like copywriting and branding and all of that stuff, and then kind of fell into doing ASMR more and more. But I know that Lauren has a full-time job, a proper job.
Yeah, so I it's kind of, YouTube for me is really sort of more of a hobby. It's nice because it's becoming a bit more permanent to my life. But yeah, no, I work in the sort of medical industry, so I work full time, 37.5 hours, probably more than that a week. So I try and fit in YouTube as I go along. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you find time to do these videos?
She's crazy. She's crazy.
I literally yesterday, what did I do? I recorded, I just had to go, right, okay, I'm gonna shut myself in this room and I'm just going to do 2-3 videos, and then I'll edit them, because I travel a lot for my job. So I'll try and edit things on the train or in the airports waiting to get on planes, that kind of thing. So.
Oh, man. So how long does editing take for the both of you?
Oh, it depends on the video length, really. I would say if it's a simple video with a non-green screen background, and say it's a half an hour video, it could take you an hour and a half to edit it. I don't know what about you, Lauren, but that's generally sort of the time for me. But then if it's a green screen one and if there are other elements to it, it could take a few hours, it could take a day, or a couple of days. Just depends.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the ones for me that take a lot longer, like anything, if I do like an accent trigger or like impersonations that I do, they take a very long time to edit. So I'm like that kind of piece I'd have to not do any other videos and just focus on doing this for the whole week. But as Lucy said, if it's a simple video, it's generally quite straightforward to edit, an hour.
Yeah.
Now, did you two meet through the ASMR community, or did you know each other before you even started?
We are long lost sisters.
Absolutely.
No, we met through ASMR. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a new. What did you say we had when we were in Dublin last week? A 5-month anniversary of our friendship.
Yeah, since we first met up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What did you get each other's gifts for the anniversary?
I mean, I got
She
Lauren.
did. I forgot.
It was.
Oh no.
It was amazing. Lauren, I'll let you say what I got you.
So I'm a little bit of a fan of Prosecco. And so Lucy got me a pop-up Prosecco glass. So it's like flat and you shake it and it pops up and it's a Prosecco glass. So obviously she just knows me very well now.
Yeah. Prosecco on the go.
That's what I need. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, I mean, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of comments about people are just loving the two of you, especially when you do collab work. But is when you do collaborative work, is that a difficult task, or do you think easier than if you do it by yourself? And then who decides who gets to edit what?
Wow.
We have a sort of situation where we can't hold a straight face. Like, I mean, it will take us hours to film a collab video.
Yeah, it literally will. It's messy. It's interesting. We'll have an idea. I think when we met up before and we'd said, right, we're going to film 4 videos. We've got a couple of nights, and I mean, the first night we just were just laughing, and then the second night we just about managed to get a video in. So, but I think it's a lot of fun filming collabs, especially when you do it when you get to do it with somebody in person. It's a lot of fun, and it just makes that whole experience just more interesting than filming by yourself. It's nice to break it up from time to time, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to keep a straight face with Lauren.
Now that you two are friends, are you each other's biggest fans?
100%.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, on a little bit more of a serious note, over here in the U.S., there's a drive from the First Lady of the United States. She's going on a campaign to kind of disband bullying or try and control bullying, especially online. It's a big thing, and I know that whenever you do anything on social media, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, you always get all these negative comments. It comes with the territory, if you will. What can you talk about your experiences just dealing with negative comments?
You want to go first, Lucy? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had a situation where it must be coming up to maybe 1.5 2 years ago now, where I actually had to, I removed my channel. I didn't sort of delete it entirely, but I made it private because the kind of abuse that I was getting was becoming almost too overwhelming. I was doing my job a lot more then, and I was thinking, is this really worth it? And they would just be commenting on my appearance and, getting quite personal, and it would be kind of emails, messages everywhere I went. And, when you are doing something that, you're effectively giving a free service to people, really, whether it's for sleep or whether it's for entertainment, that is what you're doing. And when you are getting that sort of, I suppose I don't like to use the word bullying, but when you are getting that kind of online abuse, as it were, it can be quite disheartening and relentless. But then about a month or 2 after I'd made my channel private, I made it public again because I'd received all these lovely messages, and my manager was very kind to say that she would manage my emails and things like that. So I'm really glad that I kind of made it through that, and I just kind of have a no tolerance policy now. So if I see a comment that is, just out of line, they'll just be blocked now, and that goes for all of my social media. And I think most ASM artists have that same approach, that it's no tolerance. I don't know about you, Lauren.
Yeah, so for me, I've been a lot more luckier than you. In the way that mine haven't experienced bullying as such. So I'm the same. So I'll delete absolutely any comment that references anything sexual at all. That really annoys me on my channel. I just don't think it's fair. The other thing is, obviously, it's the kind of subtle ones that will start to they're not being nasty in a way, but they are. They're picking things out about your appearance. So for me, people pick up on I've got gaps in my teeth, or they don't feel that my eyebrows are matching, so it's these little subtle ones kind of over time can have an impact. And I'm looking at getting bonding done on my teeth, and it's probably because I've had 3 years of these little subtle comments. But I do think it is something that we all have to kind of consider, and we all have to think about whether we can deal with it when making a YouTube channel.
Definitely.
Well, don't change anything about yourselves. That's all I gotta say. You two are perfect just the way you are, and I know that in the line of work that I do, they always say you have to have a thick skin, because it's everywhere. Not just on social media, although social media seems to perpetuate this type of bullying a lot more, because you're hiding behind your computer screen, where in person you still might get bullying in a different way, like in the workplace, for example, too. There may be just difficult situations you have to deal with, but I think I think you both are doing fantastic jobs dealing with that, and that was just something that I was really curious about, because I get the sense that the male ASM artists don't really have to deal too much with that stigma. I mean, or am I wrong on that assumption?
I mean, I speak to some male ASM artists, and I know that they don't experience that same level. Whether they get messaged privately, I don't know, but I think you can just go on to a male ASM artist's video, any video, and you can just have a quick scroll through the comments, and taking into account that hopefully they haven't deleted them on face value. It's mainly very positive, and it goes as well for, I know a male ASM artist who gets quite a lot of brand deals and sponsorships, and it's very much celebrated by his subscribers, and congratulations. But then as soon as a woman does a sponsorships, it's very much, she's a sellout, she's doing it for money. So it's kind of that whole different attitude that I think it's quite last century sort of. So I don't know, just not forward thinking, really.
I would say there's another kind of difference, for example, for you is, so loads of us female ASM artists were banned from PayPal because they saw it's been sexual, and we're constantly battling. So mine gets banned, I have to reapply, etc. It gets media coverage, then I get it back, and then a couple of weeks later, when the media coverage has died down, it then gets banned again. None of the male ASM artists have ever been banned from PayPal. So that just goes to show you it's the exact same thing.
That's true.
No, that's very unfortunate. There's always this disproportionate thing that keeps happening between the male and female ASM artists, and not just in that type of community. Also, I think in general, it's still so bizarre to me just to think about that disparity that's happening. But hey, whenever you can make it work and it works out, then great. But what do you think is going to take for that double standard to change?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I think when perhaps YouTube makes ASMR a category, maybe, and it's properly recognized, I think as well, especially in the UK, it's still quite not misunderstood, but it's maybe more unexplored. Whereas in the US, lots of advertisers have used it, especially, that one at the Super Bowl and things like that. So I think it's being much more widely understood over there. So I think all it's going to take is more coverage of ASMR, what it is. I know there's an ASMR artist in the UK who's very much towards her goal is to have ASMR involved in the healthcare system because of its benefits with anxiety and depression and things like that. So I think once it starts getting more coverage with the health benefits and things like that, I think that's when it will be accepted, and whether you're male, female, whatever, I think across the board, that's probably what it's going to take, just more and more coverage.
And do you do you get messages, whether it's public or direct messages on your social or email platforms, from people that say, Lucy, Lauren, you have changed my life, you have helped me? Do you get those types of messages?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really fortunate to get ones from soldiers in army barracks that have been away, and they said oh yeah, our whole barracks are listening to your videos and it's really, really helped us. And it's you don't even realize that you're touching people like that. And just loads of individuals have said, oh, your videos really helped me sleep, thank you so much, I really appreciate what you're doing. And we get these sort of emails or messages, I mean, on a daily basis. I don't know about you, Lucy, but I imagine you do.
Yeah, 100%, especially with veterans and things like that. But, it's quite nice as well when you get, younger people who might be in school and they say, oh, I'm struggling at school, or I don't really fit in, but, your videos really help me, when I go to sleep at night. And people who are studying for exams and all sorts of things like that, or working professionals. And, life is so stressful and social media is so stressful. So to be able to go onto a platform like YouTube and to find something that is actually designed towards your relaxation, it is so comforting. So to know that what you're doing is actually genuinely helping people, and whether it's a video that's got a bit of humor to it, because I know Lauren as well, we like to add a little bit of humor into our videos. Not everything has to be so serious. It's just nice to know that whatever type of content within the ASMR world that we decide to put out there, in some way or another, it's helping a wide variety of people from all over the world, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that must feel really good when you can do something that produces these positive results in people. You're changing lives, essentially.
Yeah, I guess we are. It can be quite overwhelming, I think, but it's definitely exciting at the same time, especially when effectively, I guess for everyone really, it's something that you start really in your bedroom with your phone maybe, and you're uploading a video, and then all of a sudden you're creating all this content to help people from all over the world. So that is definitely exciting.
Now, you two, when you get stressed or need relaxation, what do you do?
I actually listen to ASMR.
Shocker.
Shocking. I love it. I think it's great. So
do you watch your own videos? Or
oh no. I actually cringe so much when I'm even editing my own videos. I can watch them. No, I I love watching loads of different YouTubers that create. It can be anything really. I just find it really relaxing to listen to somebody speaking really softly.
Yeah, same. And if ASMR fails, then it's yoga for me.
Yeah, yoga.
Yeah.
Now, what are your ASMR triggers?
Oh, I mean, for me, it's all about the voice. I'll turn onto a video to mainly listen to somebody's voice. I'm not particularly a trigger person, but I would say things like hair brushing for me. I do enjoy visual triggers, like with hand movements and things like that, and very slow movements, and quite sort of gentle tapping, I would say. They're my main triggers, really.
I like sort of, I don't know, the kind of personal attention roleplay type videos. I like medical videos. Love a medical video where it's like you're going to the doctors or something, and somebody's doing all the different tests. I really like that. But I really, somebody that always makes me tingle is, one of the biggest ones, the lady who started it all, really, Maria Gentle Whispering. I always love, her videos always hit the spot.
Her voice is so perfect, so tingly.
Agreed.
And how do the two of you get into ASMR in the first place? What propelled you to get into this?
For me, it was a few years ago, and just a friend had said he knew someone who was whispering online, and I thought, oh, sounds interesting. And I looked it up, and I discovered ASMR through that, and realized it was an experience that I had experienced, or a feeling, sorry, I had experienced, and it just kind of went from there, really. I think one of the first videos I recorded was with my phone balanced on a jewelry box in my room, and I read out a cookbook. So that was really how I got started. Just nice and simple, I guess.
For me, it was I just had listened to it from university, kind of, second year onwards. When I was studying, I listened to music quite a lot, classical music. I just don't like silence. And so I'd stumbled across it. I was doing a physiology lecture, and it was to do with hearing. And we'd listened to this 3D barbershop about how this video on YouTube could make you, hear as if you were actually there. And obviously in the suggested came up, of course, the lovely Whispers Red in Fred's voice. And so I just clicked on their videos, and I was like, this is really odd. I don't know how I feel about this. So it took a few times for me to kind of go on and sort of explore. And I realized then that actually I could get the tingles from it, and I started listening. And it wasn't until kind of 2 years later, towards the end of my degree, that I thought, I really would love to give something back to the community, and I love acting, I love doing all these kind of things. I'm just going to give it a shot and see what happens. And it just happened to be successful. I didn't intend for it to be, I didn't really have a plan when I made my first video. I just wanted to do it, and here we are today.
And what do your family and friends think about you doing these ASMR videos on YouTube?
Well, I think at first they were a little bit confused. And then once I explained to them what it was, they were still pretty confused. But then I showed them some videos, and, my parents are so supportive. Some of my friends still don't particularly get it, and I have some family members who still think it's quite strange. But overall, I would say they're just proud of what I'm doing, and really intrigued by it, because really it's something that is, although it's been around for so long, I think in the media it's quite new, so it's quite exciting for them to see me be part of something that's sort of blowing up more and more. So yeah, for me, I didn't tell anybody for a while, so I guess that's my own fault. I kept it under wraps. I wasn't sure how my parents would take it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. So I kind of, kept it under wraps, and then I eventually told my mum and dad. They were at first a little bit unsure, and then eventually, when they learned a lot more about it, they're completely fine with it now. They're really happy that I'm doing it, and I've just been really fortunate that all of my friends have been really understanding, including my work colleagues. That they were kind of the ones that I was concerned about the most, actually, is kind of work understanding, and they do. So that's a lot of pressure taken off.
Are you two single ladies, or are you in relationships at the moment?
Well, I see. This is something that, we don't tend to let the ASMR world know, because people can get a little bit crazy. Yes. So,
crazy how?
Well, they sort of, there's a big impression that a lot of guys have, that if you're online, you belong to them, so they can get quite possessive. And I've known some ASMR artists who have had some trouble. They've had to get the police involved and things like that. So I think we'll keep it private.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on a lighter note, let's just talk a little bit about your upbringing, because I think that I think, to me at least, the upbringing of somebody is really important on what they're doing now, on their professionalism, on their creativity, and everything else. You both are very successful at what you do. So I just want to know how little creative calm and little Scottish murmurs were as little kids. Were you the rebel? Were you? What were you?
No, I mean, I was a very, very shy child. I'm an only child, so I've got the best parents in the world, but yeah, I was just very shy, even around other family members and friends. So I was quite quiet. And then as I got into my teens, I guess I turned a little bit kind of emo-ish, a little bit
Wow.
kind of started to come out of my shell a little bit more, maybe a bit sort of tomboyish. I always loved like being outside and riding my bike and things like that. And then, I think it was really when I left school, I started to gain more and more confidence. I don't know why. I think maybe in school, I never really felt like I fitted in. I was always the kind of one who would be drawing. Like I went to art school for a few years every single weekend because I love drawing and things like that. But I was always the kind of creative, weird one. So I think coming out of school, I felt that kind of freedom and gained more of confidence. And to be honest, I don't know, maybe because I didn't go to university, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I also didn't particularly want to end up in lots of student debt myself. I think maybe if I'd gone to uni, I would have kept in my shell a little bit, but I went out there and worked and kind of came out of my shell more. And maybe that's one of the reasons I started a channel. Maybe I'd never have been here. You never know.
Oh, I can't tell you how relieving it is to hear that, because in my experience, I used to be just this super shy kid. There was one time actually when my father and we were driving. We ended up, the car broke down in near Phoenix, Arizona. And while the car was getting repaired, we went to go eat at this little diner. And I think I must have been, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 12 years old, during that growing up phase. And I remember there was this lady that she didn't even notice that I was there, but I noticed that she was there, and I thought she was just so beautiful, and I could not eat. I just froze, and I could not eat at all after that. So I was so painfully shy. But then somehow I ended up getting into this little business called news, and it forced me to just get out of my shell, because I would have to go out by myself oftentimes to interview people on these different news stories. And now I'm so thankful that I have the career that I do, because it really does make you grow as a person and get you out and about, get you out of that shell, out of that comfort zone. So I'm glad that you had that experience. And Lauren, how about you? How was little Scottish Murmurs as a kid?
So I was totally the opposite. Like I was always completely headstrong, even from a really young toddler. I was walking from 10 months. I used to like go down the slides about a year old, like head first. Like I got all these stories from my gran and grandpa. Yeah, I used to be really headstrong. So when I was at school, I've always been really studious. Like, so I've always been like quite like goody two shoes. I wasn't shy though. I was just very kind of independent, knew what I wanted to get out of things, and just, headstrong. So that kind of gets you in a little bit of bother sometimes, because I'm not very good. Back then when I was younger, I wasn't very good at, how girls can be like in a big sort of group, and you get people that will say things and everybody just agrees with them. Like even if it's wrong, and I would stand up for myself, and that doesn't, doesn't go down very well, especially when you're an early teen, So, and then I kind of went to university again, just very studious, just worked hard, and here I am now. Not really changed too much.
So we're basically the opposite. But ASMR has brought us together.
We're the opposite.
Oh, that is excellent. And what do you do when you're not doing ASMR or at work? I've never been to Europe myself, but I think the two of you, or at least you, Lauren, have been to the US.
Hmm. Yeah, so I kind of come along quite regularly to the US, and I love going. I love going to Colorado, Denver. Love a lot of traveling. I've been to quite a lot of places in Europe as well. But yeah, when I'm not working or making videos, what do I do? Watch a lot of series. Like, I absolutely love TV. You know, your usual Game of Thrones,
Oh, yeah.
etc. Yeah. So catch up on a lot of series. I'm quite creative. I love drawing. I play the piano. I also play the flute. So I try and keep up with these kind of instruments as well. And then I have books at the side of my bed table. I would like to have time to read them, but I don't. So, and what about you, Lissy?
I mean, for me, I'm secretly a bit of a granny. I do like going to antique fairs, so I really like going to all of these kind of markets and places. I sort of like collecting things. I can't really explain what, but I just like interesting objects. So I quite like doing things like that and going out into the country and going for walks and on my bike and things like that. So I'm quite simple. I love a bit of TV as well, of course, and binge watching things on Netflix, and of course the spot of shopping and eating out, things like that. Not a normal human, I guess.
No, that's good. What's the most unique or weird item that you have bought at these antique stores?
Oh, I mean, this isn't what I've bought at the antique stores, but I do actually have a collection of crow's heads under my bed.
Wow, that's like the next Godfather movie being made.
Yes. No, I will explain why. So I do have this sort of fascination with skulls. I quite like them. I don't really know why. But I promise you I'm not some sort of witch or something. But I like crystallizing things. So Lauren will probably know this. I have a Blue Yeti microphone, and one of them I have actually crystallized with gemstones all over. And I actually have a crow's skull hung up that I'm looking at right now in my room. That is completely crystallized and in a frame. So that's just something I like doing, crystallizing skulls. So yes, I do have an odd selection of things.
Oh man, Lauren, do you hear that?
Yeah.
Now you have maybe a gift idea for the 10th month friend anniversary.
Oh, absolutely! I'm gonna have to get her a Scottish crow's head.
Yeah, please.
Oh man! Now, do any both of you have a favorite video that you've made? You have hundreds, I think now, but is there a favorite one that you just absolutely love making?
Oh, I don't know. Lauren, have you got one that comes to mind straight away?
Yeah, impersonations videos. Yeah, gotta do it.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I've done so many characters. I think I'm getting on to nearly 300 videos now that I've made. I think
Margot.
I did. Oh, Margot, it is a lot of fun. So I don't know if you have seen Margot, but Margot is... Oh, you have.
Oh,
so yeah, Margot is just terribly, terribly posh. She's just so damn posh, and I love it. So create anything that I can create a bit of a character with is always a bit of a favourite. And then you get people following along as well and sort of asking what's going to happen with their life and what the storyline, which is quite bizarre, but that's quite fun.
Now, have either of you ever been to California, Los Angeles?
No, I haven't. No, I'm going there though in July. So gonna go to VidCon and meet up with some fellow ASMR artists, which will be fun. But I've never been there, and I'm quite scared that I may melt because it will be very hot.
No way.
I think I will.
Southern California. Well, actually, how is the weather over in your neck of the woods?
Cold.
Wet. Miserable.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
What are you talking about?
holding
You
that.
live down in Bournemouth. It's just like, sorry. You live down... That was an accident.
Just cut that bit out.
Cut that bit out. Sorry. You live down in England.
I do. No, I live quite near the sea. However, it's very it can be quite damp. Like you get a few weeks in the summer where it's beautiful, the beaches and stuff. It's lovely, and I don't live that far from the countryside either, and a quick drive, so it's a really nice location. But I think the whole of the UK is pretty much the same with weather. If we get a summer, then we're quite blessed, but most of the time it's quite grey and quite cold, but it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, man. Well, I guess the tip that I would give you is if you come out to LA in the middle of summer, definitely have your sunscreen on. But you know, a lot of the places here, they have the air conditioning units indoors, so you're all good on that front. But yeah, if you're gonna be outside, usually different areas of Southern California get a little too hot. But if you can and have the time when you come over to Los Angeles, there is a little city where I'm from, born and raised, about an hour and a half north of there, called Santa Barbara. And Santa Barbara always has this Mediterranean style weather all year round, and a lot of great shops too. So there's that tip.
Oh, lovely. Oh, I have to see how much time I've got, but I'm quite excited to come out there. So whereabouts are you based?
Right now, actually, I'm commuting to work to Los Angeles from Oxnard. So Oxnard is about, I would say maybe about 55 minutes away from Los Angeles. And it's a nice, lovely town too, because it's not as heavily congested with traffic as, you know, the LA area. So it's nice to just kind of get away. It's outside the city, of course, and it's great. But LA is just so beautiful, and I just can't imagine myself working anywhere else but Los Angeles. So I'm very happy with with what I do.
Very nice, very nice. Do you ever listen to, or would you dare listen to something like ASMR on your commute?
Well, you know, I want to, but then I always have this feeling that I might fall asleep at the wheel.
Yes, that is the danger.
Because it's so relaxing to me. I've seen several videos, and also actually in the research of this interview, I also watched more videos from the two of you, and I always just got so relaxed to a point where I know my wife was talking to me about something, but I don't remember what it was. I think I might have just spaced out for about 10 minutes. No kidding, just very relaxed. So I'm thinking if I do that in the car on my commute to work, I don't know. I might just have to pull over on the side and take a little quick nap or something. But I can tell you that I've gotten a lot into podcast listening, because the commute is oftentimes going into LA. Sometimes you may be driving, 8 minutes to your destination, but then because of traffic, it turns into a half hour, 30 minutes or so. So I've gotten a lot into podcasting, listening to podcasts from different creators, and that's actually gotten my long commutes very entertaining. But
Yeah.
what about you? When the two of you have to travel and you need something to listen to, what is that one thing that you turn to?
Well, for me, actually, I do enjoy listening to podcasts. If I haven't got, I know I'm not going to be in a place where I've got signal, so I can't access YouTube. I will often pre-download podcasts on Spotify, and I love food, so I've been listening to one that's food related at the moment. But yeah, I think podcasts are really great for traveling, just because it is it's just nice to listen to other people chat, really. So what about you, Lauren?
I'm a lot more boring than you.
Listen to audiobooks, don't you?
No,
Oh.
not quite there. So I listen to, so obviously I'm traveling a lot, etc. So podcasts, as Lucy said, so there's a couple I listen to, but I've taken a bit of a liking to politics. So I'll listen to, so there's like a radio station called LBC in the UK that does it all. I'll listen to them quite regularly. I'll listen to podcasts, and I'll also, if I'm traveling really early in the morning, like say I'm on the train and I want a little snooze, then I'll listen to ASMR videos. So yeah.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, and it's really good that you say that the podcasting is a huge thing, because out here in Southern California, podcasting is a big deal. There's the small towns where the commute is so short. We're talking about maybe a 6-minute drive to get to your destination. So that's usually not enough time to kind of get into a podcast and everything. But in big cities where your commute and your travel is a little longer, I'm glad to hear that you're listening to the podcast. Now, I just actually launched this podcast, but we're also on Spotify, so you can find us there. And this episode, I think I'm gonna probably round off the month of April with this episode that we're recording right now. So it's going to be fantastic. But one of the things that I really want to have this podcast be, compared to everything else that I've heard is actually like in studio. And in my podcast, I really like going out and meeting somebody and just having a meal with them, and chatting and just recording that experience and getting to know that person. Unfortunately, my private jet wasn't ready today, so I couldn't travel over there. But I'm kidding. No, it's I wish I could have sat down over a meal and chat with you both in person, because I've always believed that conversing over the dinner table is probably where the best conversations happen.
No, definitely. I think, well, most recently, I actually got ill from the last meal I ate with Lauren.
Oh no! What did you have?
We had a selection of starters. We had some calamari, flatbread, chicken wings, which I only had one of because Lauren's a bit of a chicken wings.
I love a chicken wing.
She goes for it. And then we had a pizza with a hole in the middle, which had salad. Which,
is that a donut?
Yeah, a very, very flat donut, more like a crisp bread, and then some salted profiteroles to finish. And it was all very nice, but I am pretty sure something at that restaurant gave me a very just dodgy system, because I was sick on the plane, I was sick on the train.
Oh, no.
It was not good. So I hope that our next meal, Lauren, you try not to kill me. I think it was sabotage on Lauren's part. I think she thought, that's it, get her out the way.
It was because of that gin and tonic that they brought that was wrong.
Oh, of course.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
They then peed in your the gin and tonic was wrong, and then they then brought the starters out. So we asked for like a certain tonic, and they brought this it was like glass bottle, so they'd have to take it off, and they brought this like kind of flavored, wasn't it? It was like pink tonic, which we both don't really like. So we told them it was the wrong one, and they went away. And then the starters came, so they may have done something to the starters.
Oh no.
Where would you take us to eat if we were with you live right now?
Okay, so before I answer that, let me get a feel of what your favorite type of food is. Now, do you like, or have you ever tried Mexican food?
Mexican's my favorite. Just gonna put it out
there. Mexican's not my favorite.
What? Okay, what?
I'm very much kind of a British kind of pub girl.
She likes a lobster.
I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I do love a lobster. I do. Yeah, if it's not kind of pub grub, it's or a steak or something, it will be lobster. I'm a bit posh in that sense.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so based on that, there are that's the great place about Southern California is that there's something for everybody. You know, one of the things that I've really gotten into lately, and I've just been obsessing over it, is pho. And it's not
what?
pho, pho, pho. I promise I am not cursing.
Yeah, okay.
pho, and I believe it's a Vietnamese dish.
Yeah.
It's like a soup, but it's hot soup, but it's for some reason it feels good eating it whether it's hot or cold. It's amazing. And if you're feeling sick from your pink gin and tonics, that is one of the things that will most likely cure your illness because it's so awesome. Yeah, so that's the thing. So there's all these great places, and they're generally within the same vicinity. So if you love Mexican food, definitely there's great places in LA. But if you kind of want to get away from that traffic, you just want to have like a nice little dining experience. There's, like I said, Santa Barbara, where I was born and raised. They have so many places that have won awards. One of them is called Rose Cafe. They have the best chips and salsa ever. I really just go there for the free chips and salsa, but I ended up always buying something anyway. But that's a great spot. And then if you're Lucy, like you are into lobsters and it seems like seafood.
Yeah.
So there's obviously the towns that are next to the ports, the harbors. They're awesome. And in Santa Barbara, there's a little place called Brophy Brothers, and they serve really good lobster and also oysters. And at the same time, it's right next to the harbor, so sometimes you see these fishermen come out from their boats with the merchandise, and there's a little fish market there too. So it's very it's an awesome place. You can kind of just sit down and enjoy the sights and sounds of the ocean. You can overlook the harbor, and there's also a pier that you can walk on. And there's a restaurant called the Harbor Restaurant. So if you're into your seafood, or if you just want like a good old fashioned American burger or steak, they serve it out for you. So all these places, I probably would take you guys to. Or take you ladies. I kind of hate using guys in the world in the word, but yeah, to eat and dine and have a nice old chat over.
That sounds good.
What is your least favorite type of food? Like something that just your body can't handle.
Ooh,
Parsley.
Oh yeah, I
I really
like
don't like, or ginger. Don't like either.
Oh, but what about a ginger biscuit?
That's different. It's like if it's in like it's not different, but it's like that sort of fresh ginger that's in like if it's too much of it in a dish, I really, really don't like it. Like in sort of kind of Chinese dishes. Same with parsley. No, not for me.
No.
What about ginger beer? Have you ever had ginger beer?
Yeah, I don't like it.
No,
What?
I don't like that.
Don't like it.
What would be your drink of choice? Do you like a gin and tonic? Because that's my drink of choice.
That's a very good question. I will tell you that I'm obsessed too over gin and tonics. My wife makes like the best gin and tonics I've ever had. So I let her handle that aspect of the cocktail making. But I also am a big fan of the old fashioned. And it just uses either whiskey or bourbon, so it's so good. It's definitely a man's drink. It'll get your chest hairs out, but I've seen the ladies drink it too, and it's very it's usually very smooth and nice. And there's the Moscow Mule too, but of course that I think has ginger in it. So if you're not a fan of ginger, definitely not the Moscow Mule. But also an old-fashioned margarita. Who doesn't love margaritas?
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, the beer. I love all the European beers, the German beers, and also one of my top favorites is shoot, I can't remember the name of it. I'll remember it. It's an Irish beer, and I don't know why it's slipping my mind. It's so popular and famous. Maybe you can help me out.
I don't know.
Dark beer, porter.
No.
What's your favorite color?
Me, blue. What about you two?
Pink.
That's so predictable. I mean, is rose gold a color? Can I throw that out there?
Oh yeah. Well, the iPhones come in rose gold now. So I guess
that is true.
I guess it is a color.
Oh wow! Yeah.
No, so that's awesome. What can you tell about somebody's colors? Somebody that likes a certain color, can you tell anything about their personality?
I think Lauren actually has this special ability, because I'm sure she's mentioned this to me before about colors, because she actually said to me once that she sensed my color was sort of like a red. I don't know. Can you remember that? Don't
yeah.
you?
So like I used to, I don't really get it anymore. I used to think that I could see sort of somebody's aura colors. So very slight. My gran can do it as well, but it's like, it's not that you see it, like you have that person as a really strong color that's associated with them, and that can tell you a lot about their personality.
Wow. So you can actually see that with a naked eye? You don't need any special instruments? You have that ability?
No. Like, so I know a lot of other people can see aura colors. I think they can see it with the naked eye. I can't. It's not like that. It's just like in general, like you have this really strong, overwhelming sense that person is like associated with that color. My gran's really, really good at doing it, actually. But this is something like before. I wouldn't say that I sit and think of people's colors anymore.
No, not anymore.
I wish I had some special ability. Oh, let me ask you this. If you had the choice of having any superpower in the world, what would that be?
Oh, I think invisibility would be quite good, because then you could be a bit kind of nosy and go and see what's happening. I'd love to go into, just to be a bit geeky, I'd love to go into somewhere like the House of Parliament and just see all these secret political conversations and what's going on and things like that. I think that would be quite cool. And then you could use your powers for good, because you could, if you heard something you knew that it would benefit, the world to say it, then you could do that. So that would be quite cool.
So people could hear your voice, they just couldn't see you?
No. So you would be completely invisible. It's just you would be able to hear what they were saying, and then when you were back in the world of not being invisible, you could then say what you've heard, basically.
What about you, Lauren?
Oh, I'd love to be able to teleport. Oh, it'd be so good. Like, imagine you could just be here and you're like, I just kind of fancy going to like Barbados for like a couple of hours, come back, or get yourself into like, I don't know, crazy situations.
That's a good one.
That's great. I don't know what superpower I would want. Okay. I got to tell you, like, I'm seriously afraid of heights. So I always felt that maybe if I had the power of flight, I would be less afraid, because I knew that I could just fly out of the situation.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my good superpower.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And would you two ever create your own podcast?
Well, never say never.
Absolutely.
I think. Yeah, I think when you gel and work well together with someone, then I think the possibilities are endless. So you have to watch this space. You never know.
Yeah, it's a Lauren and Lucy show.
Wow, yeah. Would you tune in?
Oh, yes, I would.
And would you tune into something that was just ASMR based, or would you tune into something that was, say, like topic based, all around, like YouTube and things like that?
Ooh, okay. So there's two types of podcasts that I listen to all the time, and that's the podcast that feature a guest. Usually it's a celebrity of some sort, and then they just kind of talk back and forth. There's one where celebrities, well, actually, there's a few where celebrities interview other celebrities, and that's always interesting because there's always the same questions that reporters and other folks just ask these actors and actresses. But then when another actor or actress is interviewing another celebrity, it's so interesting that they just don't have that same questions. You kind of just learn a little bit more about the other person that you didn't learn during the mainstream media coverage. So that's always interesting. And then I really like topic based. So if there's well, for example, I was listening to a podcast that's produced out of the TV station that I work at, and um, they had this health professional come on talking about the benefits of probiotic mints and I believe I've also heard charcoal toothpaste, which I kind of just got into it. So I use charcoal toothpaste. I get a black mouth every single time.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
I know, it's so gross. I feel like I'm in some kind of villain movie and something's coming out of me. But but I want to try it out and see what the benefits are like. And then the probiotic mints, which you can buy almost anywhere. I think Amazon sells them, that's where I get them. But it's so interesting, and that actually works because when you brush your teeth and you use mouthwash, it's supposed to kill all the bacteria, but you need some of that good bacteria to be living in your mouth to kind of keep you healthy overall to begin with. So probiotic mints are supposed to reintroduce that good bacteria that gets killed when you use mouthwash and all that stuff. So
do you know what I thought you said? So I thought you said probiotic mints as in meat, that's minced, like mince meat. And I was like, oh, well, you want to rinse that around your mouth? That sounds interesting.
Oh no, mints.
Mints. That makes more sense.
Yeah. But I got all that from this podcast that I was listening to. So a lot of good topics topic-based podcasts are good. And then there's also, if I do have some downtime and I don't want to watch TV or anything like that, shocker, I would there's a couple podcasts that are so I'm not a big fan of the true crime ones, just because I just want to get to the end of it and see how it ends. But there's these like drama ones where these sound engineers do such a great job with it that it's kind of like uh, being in a movie, but just treating your ears to that. You just close your eyes and you just imagine yourself. It really does transport you into this scene just through the audio. And that's always been a fascination of mine, that okay, video, I love video. I made my career out of shooting video and photography, but there's something about audio that if you can transport somebody just through auditory means, that's just very to me, it's something very special. And I think that's why I've always been a big fan of radio shows, because there's a challenge there where you have to bring the listener into your world without actually showing. So you're painting a picture with just sounds, and to me, I just love that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sorry, I went on a little rant here. Sorry about that. We should be talking about you too.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but definitely happy that you both took time out of your schedules. I'm sure they're very busy schedules, and we are 8 hours ahead right now, so it must be 9 p.m. over there. So I know you probably have to get some sleep, because it is Sunday for everybody that's listening to this. Yeah. So it's a start of a work day tomorrow. So again, I really do want to thank you. But before we leave, is there anything else that you want to talk about, such as, for example, any misconceptions that we haven't covered about ASMR that you just kind of want to the listeners to know?
I think just sort of definitely that it is not sexual, and that if you are confused by it or you don't know what it is and your mind immediately thinks it's sexual, then just to, you know, look at those studies. It's a quick Google and you can see all the research that backs that up. So definitely, I think the final word that it is not sexual, and that it's something that is, you know, becoming a real, I think, tool in healthcare, hopefully, because it's really helping with anxiety and lots of problems. So I think it's something that we should definitely start to be taking seriously. And what about you?
Yeah,
Laura?
like sorry. No, I agree with you. I just want it to be a bit more well known and people to kind of open their minds and have a listen. Find out if it's something that's your thing. Might not be, but it might be, and it might help you. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Great. And finally, I always like to end the show knowing about your biggest pet peeve or peeves. So, Lauren, Lucy, what are your biggest pet peeves?
Oh, Laura,
that's so unfair. I didn't have a think about this one. When
there's so many.
Right, we'll make it
probably.
ASMR YouTube specific. When people post on Twitter after every subscriber that they've managed to gain. So like there's a kind of bigger YouTuber that she's posting literally every single like couple of hundred subscribers that she's gained constantly. Yeah.
That is definitely one of mine. I'm trying to think what else. When a pet peeve, definitely, especially with ASMR ideas, is when you have maybe done an idea, or you've done a video in the past, and then a bigger ASMR artist, Subwise, has come out and done the same video, but because they're much bigger, everybody thinks they've done the idea first and they're the original idea, and then you'll find people commenting on your videos saying, "Oh, you copied so and so," and it's it can be very frustrating. So
that's a big one. That is definitely a big one.
Yes.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for taking some time and being on this podcast today.
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you for having us.
We'll all have to get together at some point in life and go and check out these other restaurants. I promise, no ginger.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you. Perfect.
My thanks again to Lauren and Lucy, Scottish Murmurs and Creative Calm, respectively, for taking some time out of their already busy schedule to sit down with me for this chat. And through the magic of technology, I was able to interview them in their respective homes. So thank you again, and I hope that you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. It was a lot of fun to record. Both ladies are very funny, and I really hope that some of the misconceptions of ASMR that you may have had have been dispelled. So give it a try. I'm going to link to Lauren and Lucy's YouTube channels and social media accounts in the description of this podcast. So be sure to check them out. They are very amazing. And once you see the videos and the quality of work they do, you'll understand exactly why they have as many followers as they do. And if you have any comments or questions, please email them to hangrymexicanpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to read some of them on the show. And be sure to follow us on social media as well. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that subscribe button and rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. We're all over the place. Apple Podcasts, Google Music Store, Spotify. Find us where you get your podcasts and start listening to The Hangry Mexican today. Thank you again, and until next time, good night. Good luck.